Commander Zyl'ax watched the Academy's most advanced plasma arsenal systematically fail against a wooden training stick, and the human holding it looked bored. "Terminate the exercise!" Zyl'ax's 3 fingers slammed against the emergency shutdown panel. "Terminate!" The plasma rifle in Cadet Vexthul's hands powered down with a disappointed whine, but the damage was done. Not to the human cadet, no. Cadet Olivia Smith stood in the center of the training ring completely unmarked, spinning that impossible wooden stick in one hand like she was waiting for a bus. The damage was to everything Zyl'ax thought he understood about warfare. "Sir, the weapons logs don't make sense." Weapons Master Kael'dra's voice carried the edge of someone whose 15 specialized degrees had just become decorative. Her display screen flickered with data that should not exist. 17 direct plasma strikes, 0 target damage, 0 equipment failure. The projectile dispersion patterns indicate successful deflection, but that's a stick, Zyl'ax finished, feeling his temperature regulation failing. Made of earth wood, which should have vaporized on first contact. "Oh, are we stopping?" The human observer instructor, Emma Rodriguez, took another bite of her apple with an audible crunch that somehow echoed across the now silent training facility. She was just getting warmed up. Zyl'ax turned to face the human, trying to maintain the composure expected of an academy commandant. According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, Instructor Rodriguez, your cadet just neutralized our standard-issue plasma rifle using equipment that violates every known principle of energy weapons interaction. Emma shrugged, still chewing. "I mean, if you say so, looked pretty straightforward to me." Straightforward. Kael'dra's antennae flattened against her skull, a gesture that indicated her world was ending. "That weapon operates at temperatures exceeding 12,000 degrees. That wooden implement should have ignited, then sublimated into component atoms." "Yeah, well..." Emma gestured with her apple at the stick, which Olivia was now examining with mild interest. "It's not really that organic anymore once you cure and treat it. Plus, you know, basic deflection angles. She's not blocking, she's redirecting. The plasma never actually makes full contact." "Deflection angles," Zyl'ax repeated flatly. "Against plasma." "Sure. Same principle as skipping stones on water, just faster and hotter." Emma took another bite. "Honestly thought you guys would have figured this out by now. How long have you had plasma weapons?" 10,000 years, Kael'dra whispered, staring at her useless data screens. "Huh. Well, we've been hitting each other with sticks for longer than that, so I guess we had a head start." Zyl'ax's communication implant buzzed. High command, of course. They'd been monitoring the exercise. He activated it with dread pooling in his core. "Commandant, explain the data we're receiving," General Korvax's voice crackled with barely restrained panic. "It indicates complete weapons failure." "Not failure, sir. Negation. By a human trainee, using primitive equipment." Silence. "Then, repeat that." "The human cadet defeated 17 plasma strikes using a wooden training stick, General. The stick shows no damage. The cadet shows no damage. Our entire testing facility is currently experiencing what I can only describe as a philosophical crisis." Down in the ring, Olivia called up to Emma. "Instructor Rodriguez, can I try the next level?" Emma grinned. "Sure, kid. Kael'dra, you mind bumping up to the Mark 7? The Mark 7 is designed for siege warfare." Kael'dra's voice cracked. "It can punch through reinforced starship hulls." "Perfect. Olivia's been practicing her footwork." Zyl'ax watched, paralyzed, as Kael'dra's hands moved through the weapons authorization protocols like she was in a trance. The Mark 7 plasma cannon rose from its storage bay, a weapon that weighed more than the human cadet and required a tripod mount to fire without throwing the operator across the room. "General," Zyl'ax said quietly into his comm, "you should keep this channel open." "I'm dispatching the Emergency Weapons Council," Korvax replied. "Do not let that human leave the facility. We need to understand what we're dealing with." The Mark 7 powered up, its charging sequence creating a low hum that vibrated through the deck plating. Olivia shifted her stance, stick held loosely in both hands now, and Zyl'ax noticed something that made his blood run cold. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't even particularly focused. She looked the same way Emma looked eating that apple. Casually attentive, mildly engaged, fundamentally unbothered by what was about to happen. "Whenever you're ready," Olivia called to Vex Thule, who'd been assigned to fire the Mark 7. The cadet looked at Zyl'ax, then at Kael'dra, then at the human with her wooden stick, standing in the center of a blast zone designed to contain ship-killer weapons. "Fire the weapon, cadet," Kael'dra ordered, her voice hollow. The Mark 7 discharged with a roar that shook the observation deck. Plasma coherent enough to maintain structural integrity over 300 meters, screamed across the training ring. Olivia moved. Zyl'ax couldn't track it. His eyes, evolved to spot movement across vast tundra plains, couldn't follow the human's motion. He saw her standing. He saw the plasma bolt curving away from her in a spray of dissipated energy that scorched the walls. He saw her standing again, stick held in a different position, completely unmarked. The wood showed no damage, no char, no heat distortion. "What?" General Korvax breathed over the comm. "In the name of every star in the galaxy was that?" Emma crunched into her apple again. "That's what we call Tuesday, General." "This is impossible," Kael'dra stated, staring at her screens. "The energy readings indicate the plasma bolt was redirected. In flight, by a wooden stick moving faster than our tracking systems could follow." "Impossible's a strong word," Emma said. "I'd go with inconvenient for your current understanding of warfare." She raised her voice. "Olivia, show them the reverse grip deflection." "The what?" Zyl'ax felt his career, his understanding of physics, and possibly his sanity crumbling. "Oh, you'll love this," Emma promised, and somehow that made everything worse. "Energy blades," Kael'dra announced, her voice carrying the desperate edge of someone clinging to rationality by her fingertips. "Deploy the energy blades." Zyl'ax wanted to stop her, wanted to call the whole thing off, evacuate the facility, maybe fake his own death and retire to a remote asteroid. Instead, he watched 3 combat drones materialize from the ceiling, each armed with cutting implements that could slice through reinforced durasteel like it was morning fog. Olivia twirled her stick once. "Oh, cool! Multiple targets." The drones attacked in coordinated formation, a pattern refined over millennia of tactical development, tested against every known combat species in the galaxy. The energy blades hummed through the air in intersecting arcs designed to leave 0 escape vectors. The human cadet stepped between them like she was avoiding puddles. "Impossible," Kael'dra whispered, watching her screens fill with trajectory data that contradicted itself. She moved through the attack pattern. "The mathematics don't allow—" The wooden stick cracked against the first drone's sensor array, then the second's power coupling, then, in a motion that made Zyl'ax's eyes hurt, somehow struck all 3 simultaneously in a spinning maneuver that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space. All 3 drones clattered to the ground, disabled. "Angle of deflection," Emma called out helpfully, as if she were teaching a basic physics class. "See, when you hit something at the right angle, you don't have to go through it. You just redirect the energy. Conservation of momentum, basic stuff." "Basic," Zyl'ax repeated, feeling something fundamental crack inside his understanding of the universe. His comm erupted with multiple voices. High Command had apparently stopped pretending this was a contained situation. "Commandant, we're receiving reports that your facility's defense systems are being defeated by wooden implements." That was Admiral Zoranix, head of Galactic Defense. "Please confirm this is a system error." "It's not an error, sir. It's a human." "Humans don't have defensive technology capable of—" "She's not using technology, Admiral. She's using a stick, made of wood, from Earth." Silence. "Then, we're dispatching the Science Council. Quarantine that facility immediately." "Particle accelerators next," Kael'dra had abandoned all pretense of scientific method and was now just throwing weapons at the problem. Bring up the Mark Ithun accelerator array. That weapon is banned in 17 sectors, Zyl'ax protested weakly. I have 15 degrees in advanced weapons theory, Commandant. 15, and that human child is making them all decorative. Kael'dra's hands flew across her console. Either I'm having a complete psychological break, or our entire understanding of combat physics is wrong. I'm testing both hypotheses. The particle accelerator rose from its reinforced housing, a weapon that fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Not energy, actual mass, moving so fast it existed in multiple states of matter simultaneously. Emma perked up. Oh, now we're talking. Olivia, remember what I taught you about kinetic impacts? Heat dispersion and angular momentum, Olivia called back cheerfully. That's my girl! The accelerator fired. Zyl'ax's tactical display showed the projectile crossing the training ring in 0.003 seconds. The wooden stick moved. The projectile ricocheted off at 90 degrees, buried itself in the reinforced wall, and stayed there, humming with trapped energy that slowly dissipated into the surrounding structure. She didn't block it, Kael'dra breathed, staring at her impossible data. She redirected it, at relativistic speeds, with wood that should have exploded from the shockwave alone. Heat dispersion, Emma explained, gesturing with her apple core. The stick's moving so fast it never absorbs enough energy in one spot to fail. Plus, proper grain alignment. We've been making tool handles for thousands of years. You learn things. Tool handles, Zyl'ax said faintly. Sure. Same principle as why you can hammer a nail all day without the handle breaking. Don't fight the force. Guide it. Emma grinned. Also helps that Olivia's got ridiculous reflexes, but hey, that's genetics for you. Vex Thul, who'd been silently observing from the weapons station, finally spoke up. Instructor Rodriguez, I believe you said something earlier about don't bring a laser to a stick fight. That phrase makes no logical sense. Emma laughed, while everything Zyl'ax knew about warfare crumbled around him. Neither does this whole situation, kid, but here we are. Commandant, Kael'dra's voice had gone very quiet, very dangerous. I need you to look at this analysis. Zyl'ax moved to her station, dreading what he'd find. The screen displayed weapon performance data going back centuries, overlaid with new calculations that made his temperature regulation fail again. What am I looking at? Optimal target response patterns for every weapon we've tested. Kael'dra's antennae were completely flat now. They're all designed assuming the target attempts to absorb or block incoming fire. Our entire weapons development philosophy is built on overwhelming the target's defensive capacity. That's standard military doctrine across the galaxy. Yes, because every species we've ever fought tried to build better shields, better armor, better ablative defenses. Kael'dra looked up at him, and Zyl'ax saw his own existential crisis reflected in her eyes. Humans don't do that. They move. They redirect. They treat incoming fire not as something to withstand, but as something to avoid. Revolutionary, Emma commented. Dodge the thing, trying to kill you. We're geniuses, really. Down in the ring, Olivia had started doing practice drills with her stick, flowing through defensive patterns that looked more like a dance than combat. She's not even paying attention anymore, Vex Thul observed, sounding somewhere between awed and terrified. Why would she? Emma shrugged. You've thrown everything at her but the kitchen sink, and it all failed. At a certain point, it becomes routine. She paused. Actually, don't throw a kitchen sink at her. That might work. Mass matters more than energy for humans. We're weird that way. Zyl'ax's comm exploded with incoming channels. High Command, the Science Council, the Emergency Defense Committee. Everyone who'd been monitoring the exercise and watching their understanding of warfare die in real time. All channels, he said quietly, accepting every connection at once. You're all seeing the same thing I am. Commandant, Admiral Zoran Ix's voice carried the weight of civilizational crisis. We need to understand the scope of this capability. Is this human cadet exceptional or... Oh, she's good, Emma interrupted, somehow having hacked into the military channel without anyone noticing. But she's not exceptional, just well-trained. I've got 30 more cadets in my unit who can do the same thing, give or take. The silence from high command was profound. 30, Admiral Zoranix repeated. Well, 32, but 2 are currently on medical leave, training injuries, nothing serious, happens when you practice full-contact stick fighting. Emma's grin was audible. Why? You guys want to see more demonstrations? Because I gotta tell you, watching your faces right now is the most entertainment I've had since we left Earth. Kael'dra made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Our weapons. 10,000 years of development, defeated by human physical education. Hey, we take PE seriously, Emma protested. Builds character. Zyl'ax looked down at the training ring, where Olivia Smith stood casually spinning a wooden stick, surrounded by the smoking remains of the galaxy's most advanced weapon systems. Instructor Rodriguez, he said carefully, what exactly did you teach her? Emma's smile was visible even through the audio channel. Oh, Commandant, we haven't even gotten to the fun part yet. The emergency response team arrived with the kind of speed that suggested they'd been hovering nearby, waiting for reality to break completely. Admiral Zoranix strode into the observation deck flanked by 6 specialists, whose credentials made Kael'dra's 15 degrees look like participation trophies. Behind them, a security detail wheeled in equipment that Zyl'ax recognized from classified briefings, the kind of weapons that were supposed to be theoretical. Commandant, Zoranix's voice could have frozen plasma. We're implementing Protocol Omega-7, clear all non-essential personnel. With respect, Admiral, the human instructor should probably... The human stays. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Zoranix turned to Emma, who'd found a chair and was now eating what appeared to be a sandwich. Instructor Rodriguez, your cadet has defeated every standard weapon in our arsenal. Yep, Emma took a bite. Good sandwich, by the way. Your cafeteria's not bad. We're now deploying experimental systems, classified technology that violates 3 interstellar treaties. The Admiral's mandibles clicked with stress. If this information leaves this facility... Sure, galactic incident, diplomatic crisis, I get it. Emma waved her sandwich dismissively. Look, I'm just here to observe your training methods. Not my fault your weapons don't work. One of the specialists, a physicist whose name tag read Dr. Zyl'ax, activated a holographic display that made Zyl'ax's head hurt to look at. We're deploying the phase disruptor. It doesn't fire projectiles or energy. It disrupts quantum probability fields, causing matter to temporarily cease coherent existence. You built a weapon that makes things stop being real, Emma said flatly. Essentially, yes. Huh. We just use bullets, but okay. The phase disruptor rose from a containment unit that required 6 authentication codes to open. It looked like a nightmare someone built out of mathematics and regret. Down in the ring, Olivia looked up at Emma. Instructor, what am I dealing with here? Honestly, kid? No idea. Something that makes stuff stop existing, apparently. Emma shrugged. So, standard defensive posture. If it's got a vector, you can redirect it. If it's got a vector? Dr. Zelia's voice cracked. It operates outside conventional space-time. There is no vector. Then she'll adapt. That's kind of our whole thing. The phase disruptor fired with a sound like reality apologizing. The air between the weapon and Olivia twisted into shapes that shouldn't exist in 3 dimensions. Olivia moved through them like they were streamers at a parade. What? Dr. Zelia stared at her readings. How? The probability disruption should have. She's not phasing. She's not temporal shifting. She's just... moving, Emma supplied helpfully. See, if you make the effect take time to propagate, even a little bit, then it's got a vector. Maybe a weird vector, but still, she just goes where the effect isn't. The effect is everywhere in the target zone. Yeah, but not all at once, right? It spreads. Even quantum effects take time to propagate. Emma stood up, brushing crumbs off her uniform. Okay, I'm gonna go down there and teach you guys something, because clearly this is getting embarrassing for everyone. Before anyone could stop her, Emma vaulted over the observation rail, dropping 3 stories to land with a flex of her knees that should have shattered bones. She walked to the center of the ring, and Olivia tossed her the wooden stick. Right. Emma held up the stick like a professor with a pointer. Everyone watching? Good. Here's what you're doing wrong. She gestured at the smoking weapons arrays surrounding them. All of this represents 10 millennia of advancement, right? You've optimized for maximum energy output, maximum destructive capacity, maximum overwhelming force. That's your entire philosophy. Hit the target so hard it can't survive. Kael'dra leaned forward. That is the fundamental principle of warfare across every known civilization. Yeah, well, humans aren't every civilization. Emma started pacing, stick resting on her shoulder. See, we figured out something a long time ago, way back when we were still hitting each other with rocks and sharp sticks. You know what we learned? Silence from the observation deck. Overwhelming force only works if you can actually hit your target. Emma grinned. You're trying to swat a fly with a sledgehammer. Sure, if you hit it, the fly's done, but the fly doesn't plan to be there when you swing. So your entire defensive doctrine is evasion? Admiral Zyl'ax sounded like he was having a religious crisis. Not evasion, adaptation. Emma pointed the stick at the phase disruptor. That thing, scary as hell, would definitely kill me if it hit. So I don't let it hit. I move faster than it can track. I go where it isn't. And if I can't avoid it, she demonstrated a deflection motion. I redirect it, use its own energy against it. Dr. Zyl'ax was typing frantically. But that requires, the reaction time would need to be ridiculous? Yeah, Emma laughed. Humans are ridiculous. We're not the strongest species, not the smartest, definitely not the most logical, but we're stubborn and we're adaptable. And we've been fighting for survival since before we climbed down from the trees. She held up the wooden stick, and Zyl'ax realized with creeping horror that he was looking at something far more dangerous than any plasma weapon. This stick. You know how old stick fighting is as a human martial art? Emma's voice had taken on a teaching quality. We have cave paintings of people training with sticks. Cave paintings. We've been refining these techniques for at least 40,000 years. Probably longer. Our weapons represent 10 millennia of advancement. Kael'dra's voice was desperate now. And that stick represents about 10,000 years of human trial and error, Emma shot back. We've been hitting each other with sticks since before we invented fire. You think we haven't figured some things out? She tossed the stick back to Olivia. Your weapons are impressive. Really, they are. Maximum energy output, incredible destructive potential. But they're all designed with the same assumption, that the target will try to tank the hit. Build bigger shields, thicker armor, stand there and take it. That is how warfare functions, Admiral Zyl'ax insisted. That's how your warfare functions. Emma pointed at each weapon system in turn. Plasma rifles, high energy but travel time. Energy blades, fast but limited range and predictable arcs. Particle accelerators, devastating but straight-line trajectory. Phase disruptor, creative but propagation delay. Every single one assumes a target that's either stationary or moving slowly enough to track. She spread her hands. Humans don't do that. We move erratically. We change direction mid-motion. We strike from angles you didn't know existed. Because we evolved fighting other humans, and let me tell you, we're absolute bastards to fight against. One of the other specialists, a combat theorist named Jotaro, finally spoke. You're saying your entire species developed warfare doctrine based on fighting yourselves? Well, yeah. What else would we fight? We were the apex predator on our planet for most of our history. Emma's grin was predatory now. We spent thousands of years in near constant warfare, developing every possible way to kill each other more efficiently. Swords, spears, bows, guns, bombs, and through all of it, we kept coming back to the basics. Speed, precision, adaptability. Kael'dra's hands were shaking on her console. We optimized for power. You optimized for efficiency? Exactly, Emma snapped her fingers. You built bigger guns. We built better technique. You developed overwhelming force. We developed the ability to make overwhelming force irrelevant. Zyl'ax felt the last pieces of his understanding crumble. Our entire military doctrine is based on fighting species that think like you do, Emma finished, which, to be fair, is everyone you've met so far. But humans? We're different. We've always been different, because we didn't develop warfare to conquer. We developed it to survive against enemies exactly as clever and vicious as we are. Admiral Zyl'ax stood slowly. How many humans have this capability? Emma laughed. This isn't a capability, Admiral. This is basic training. Every human child learns some form of physical combat growing up. Sports, martial arts, playground fights, we're hardwired for it. Olivia's good, but she's not exceptional. She's just competently trained. Competently trained, Dr. Zyl'ax repeated hollowly. Yeah, you want to see exceptional? Wait until you meet our actual special forces. Emma's smile could have cut through starship armor. Those folks make Olivia look like a beginner. The observation deck had gone very, very quiet. So, Emma clapped her hands together. Anyone want to actually learn something useful? Because I can teach you the basics of defensive combat. Won't make you as good as a human. You don't have our reaction times or spatial awareness, but it'll at least keep you from being completely helpless against anyone who knows how to move. Zyl'ax looked at Admiral Zyl'ax. The Admiral looked at the Council of Experts. The experts looked at their useless data screens. Yes, Kael'dra said finally quietly. Please, teach us. Emma Rodriguez, human instructor, former military, current harbinger of Galactic Military Reformation, picked up the wooden stick again. Right then, Lesson 1. Stop thinking about winning through superior firepower. Start thinking about winning through not being where the firepower is. All right, Emma rolled her shoulders, the wooden stick spinning in her grip with casual precision. Admiral, I'm going to need your entire security detail in the ring. All 6 of them, armed with whatever makes them feel confident. Admiral Zyl'ax's mandibles clicked in what might have been alarm. Instructor Rodriguez, my security team consists of the finest combat specialists in the fleet. Each has decades of experience. Perfect. They'll make better test subjects than training dummies. Emma gestured impatiently. Come on, I'm trying to prove a point here, and you folks seem like you need a really dramatic demonstration before it sinks in. The security team exchanged glances. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Orhill, stepped forward. Instructor, we're equipped with live weapons. This is inadvisable. Live weapons are fine. I'd prefer it, actually. Makes the lesson stick better. Emma's grin was absolutely feral. No pun intended. Zyl'ax watched, feeling like he was observing the heat death of his career, as 6 elite soldiers surrounded Emma Rodriguez in the training ring. They carried plasma rifles, shock batons, and what looked like a portable shield generator. Combined arms, tactical spacing, coordinated fire patterns. Emma stood in the center, alone, holding a stick. "Whenever you're ready, gentlemen," she called. They moved like professionals, suppressing fire from 3 angles, shield wall advancing from the 4th, shock batons ready to capitalize on any opening. It was textbook multi-vector assault, practiced until it became instinct. Emma moved like water. Zyl'ax couldn't track it. No one could. She was simply between the plasma bolts, inside the shield wall before it could form, and then the stick was moving. Crack against a rifle, tap against a knee joint, sweep behind an ankle. The entire security team was on the ground in 4 seconds. Not unconscious, not injured, just down. Disarmed and disoriented, staring up at the human who stood over them without even breathing hard. That, Emma announced to the stunned observation deck, is what 40,000 years of practice looks like. She helped Rahil to his feet, handed him back his rifle. You guys did good, by the way. Solid fundamentals. Problem is, your fundamentals assume I'm going to be where you're shooting. Rahil looked at his team, all of them climbing to their feet with expressions of existential confusion. How? Asymmetric warfare, Emma said simply. You thought in terms of superior firepower. I thought in terms of practical effectiveness. You tried to hit harder. I tried to not get hit at all. She tossed the stick to Olivia. Show them the counterattack sequence. What followed was worse, or better. Zyl'ax couldn't decide anymore. Olivia didn't just defend, she attacked while defending, the wooden stick becoming a blur of offensive action that somehow happened inside the same motions she used for deflection. Every parry was also a strike. Every dodge positioned her for a countermove. It was beautiful and terrifying and completely alien to everything they understood about combat. Oh my stars, Kael'dra breathed, watching her sensors track movements they couldn't predict. She's not reacting to attacks. She's forcing them into patterns she wants, then exploiting the openings she created. Now you're getting it, Emma clapped her hands. That's advanced level thinking. You don't just respond to threats, you manipulate threats into responding to you. Dr. Zyl'ax was scribbling notes with 6 hands simultaneously. This explains everything. Human military history, your success rates, the incident reports we've received. She looked up, eyes wide. You don't win by being stronger. You win by making strength irrelevant. Exactly, Emma pointed at her. That's the whole philosophy. We fought wars against better-equipped enemies for our entire history. Better armor, better weapons, better numbers. You know what we developed? Guerrilla tactics, asymmetric warfare, the ability to turn any environment, any tool, any advantage into a weapon. She picked up a discarded plasma rifle, hefted it, then set it down. This is a good gun, really good, but you know what it's not? Adaptive. It does one thing, shoot plasma. That stick, she pointed at Olivia, that stick can block, strike, leverage, trap, disarm, and about 50 other functions because it's not specialized, it's versatile. Versatility over specialization, Admiral Zyl'ax said slowly. That contradicts every principle of modern warfare. Modern galactic warfare, Emma corrected. Human warfare learned this lesson back in prehistory. The specialist with the best spear dies to the generalist with a rock, a stick, and the willingness to throw sand in your eyes. Jotaro, the combat theorist, was pulling up historical data. Your species' military records, the pattern is consistent. Humans consistently defeat technologically superior opponents through cheating, Emma supplied cheerfully. At least that's what everyone calls it. We call it tactical flexibility. Why fight fair when you can fight smart? Zyl'ax found his voice. How do we defend against this? Emma turned to him, and her expression shifted from playful to serious. That's the neat part. You don't. You adapt, like we do. She gestured at the observation deck full of specialists. Stop designing weapons to kill humans. Start designing training to make your soldiers think like humans. Learn to move, learn to improvise. Learn that sometimes the best weapon isn't the most powerful one. It's the one you know how to use in 300 different ways. This changes everything about galactic warfare, a voice said from the doorway. Everyone turned. A figure stood there that made Admiral Zyl'ax snap to immediate attention. Counselor Zyl'ax, head of the Galactic Security Council. Counselor, Zyl'ax began, we were just... I've been watching for the last 20 minutes. Zyl'ax walked slowly to the observation window, staring down at Olivia, who'd gone back to practice drills. A human cadet, barely out of basic training, just invalidated our entire defensive doctrine with a wooden stick. In her defense, Emma said, it's a really good stick. Properly cured white oak, balanced grip, nice grain structure. Instructor Rodriguez, Zyl'ax turned. How many humans can do this? Emma shrugged. Like I said before, this is basic training. Any human with a few years of martial arts practice could pull off the fundamentals, the really scary ones, the ones who've dedicated their lives to it. Her smile was sharp. You don't want to fight those. Trust me. We need to redesign our entire training curriculum, Kael'dra said suddenly. Not just weapons. Everything, combat theory, tactical doctrine, strategic planning, all of it based on assumptions that humans prove wrong. The academy will become the testing ground, Counselor Zyl'ax decided. Instructor Rodriguez, you will oversee the development of new adaptive combat protocols. We need every soldier in the Galactic Fleet to understand what they're dealing with. Wait, seriously? Emma blinked. I'm just here as an observer. I've got paperwork and everything. Your paperwork just became obsolete. Zyl'ax's voice carried the weight of policy shifting in real time. As of now, this facility is dedicated to understanding human combat methodology, full authorization, unlimited resources, whatever you need. Admiral Zyl'ax was nodding. We'll establish new protocols immediately. Expect humans to use anything as a weapon. Expect them to succeed. Expect our conventional approaches to fail. Emma looked around at the assembled military leadership, all of them staring at her with expressions ranging from fear to awe to desperate hope. Welcome to humanity's last 10,000 years, she said with a shrug. It's been one long learning curve of figuring out how to beat things that should be able to beat us. She grinned. Fair warning, we got really, really good at it. Down in the ring, Olivia called up. Instructor, can I break for lunch? I'm starving. Yeah, kid, you earned it. Emma turned back to the observation deck full of military officials having simultaneous crises. See? Defeats your entire arsenal, asks for a sandwich. That's humanity in a nutshell. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Military Academy looked like a different institution entirely. Zyl'ax stood in what used to be the Advanced Weapons Theory lecture hall, watching a class of 50 cadets, representing 17 different species, attempt basic stick drills under Olivia Smith's patient instruction. They were terrible at it, magnificently, hilariously terrible. No, you're thinking too much, Olivia called to a Xanthari cadet who kept trying to calculate optimal strike angles. Stop planning 3 moves ahead. React to what's happening now. The transformation had been swift and absolute. Counselor Zyl'ax hadn't been joking about unlimited resources. Within days, every combat training facility in the academy had been retrofitted for adaptive combat protocols. Traditional weapons remained, but now they shared space with training equipment that would have been laughable a month ago. Wooden staffs, balance beams, obstacle courses designed for erratic movement patterns. Emma Rodriguez had been given an entire department. Director of Asymmetric Combat Studies, they called it. She called it teaching people how to not get shot. How's the paperwork treating you, Director? Zyl'ax asked, finding Emma in her new office, which she decorated with human martial arts posters and what appeared to be ancient Earth weapons. Emma looked up from a data pad with the expression of someone contemplating existential despair. I've reviewed 17 requisition forms today. 17. Do you know how many ways there are to describe stick in official procurement language? I imagine quite a few. Too many, Zyl'ax. Too many. She tossed the pad aside. I became a combat instructor to avoid bureaucracy. Now I'm drowning in it. You revolutionized galactic military doctrine, Zyl'ax reminded her. Yeah, but I still need to eat. Revolution doesn't fill the stomach. Emma stood, stretching. Speaking of which, please tell me your cafeteria has improved since they put me in charge of this circus. They had. The human contingent had introduced something called meal efficiency, the ability to eat quickly without sacrificing nutrition, another apparently revolutionary concept. As they walked through the corridors, Zyl'ax noticed the changes everywhere. Combat drones now moved in unpredictable patterns. Training scenarios emphasized adaptation over firepower. Even the veteran instructors, Kael'dra included, were attending Emma's seminars on tactical flexibility. The Galactic Council is convening next month, Zyl'ax mentioned. They want a full report on human combat methodology. Apparently, there's concern about what else humans might do wrong that actually works better. Emma snorted. Oh, they're going to love our approach to logistics and medicine and basically everything else we've ever done. That concerning? Concerning? Nah, entertaining? Absolutely. She grinned. Turns out when you spend your entire evolutionary history as both predator and prey, fighting everything including yourselves, you develop some pretty effective survival strategies. Who knew? They passed the main training ring, where Olivia was wrapping up her class. The cadet still carried that wooden stick, the same one that had started everything. Instructor, Olivia jogged over, stick in hand. Question about the advanced deflection course. Are we cleared to demonstrate against live ordnance yet? Submit the safety protocols to Commander Zyl'ax first. We're trying not to give anyone more heart attacks this quarter. Fair enough. Olivia looked down at her stick, then back at Emma. Hey, what should I do with this? The museum wants to display it. Emma's expression softened. Keep it. That stick taught an entire galaxy that old doesn't mean obsolete. Someday you'll need to beat something that shouldn't be beatable. That's when you remember. Sometimes the old ways work best. Olivia smiled, spun the stick once, and headed off to her next class. The museum is persistent, Zyl'ax noted. They've requested it 14 times. They can have it when Olivia retires. Until then, it's a working tool. Emma watched her cadet disappear around the corner. Besides, the lesson's better when people see it's not about the stick, it's about knowing how to use it. They reached the cafeteria, where a mix of human and alien students sat together, comparing notes on training exercises. Zyl'ax spotted Vexthul practicing hand movements with a human cadet, trying to understand the concept of muscle memory. Your teaching methods are spreading, Zyl'ax observed. 3 other academies have requested human instructors. The Defense Fleet wants to implement adaptive combat protocols across all vessels. There's even talk of establishing a human combat studies program at the Strategic Institute. Emma grabbed a tray, loading it with what the cafeteria optimistically called a sandwich. You know what's funny? Everything we're teaching you, the movement, the adaptability, the don't get hit philosophy. Human kids learn this playing tag on playgrounds. It's not advanced military theory. It's literally games we play as children. Perhaps that's why it works, Zyl'ax said quietly. We've been treating warfare as an intellectual exercise. You treat it as instinct. Instinct refined by 10,000 years of practice. Emma found a table, sat down heavily. But yeah, essentially, we're just really good at the fundamentals because we never forgot they were important. Kael'dra approached their table, carrying her own meal and a datapad that practically glowed with annotations. Director Rodriguez, I've been analyzing human military history, specifically your asymmetric warfare records. The pattern is consistent across thousands of years. Smaller forces defeating larger ones, lower technology overcoming higher. It's not anomalous, it's systematic. That's what happens when you're never the biggest or the strongest, Emma said around a bite of sandwich. You get creative or you get extinct. We chose creative. It's beautiful, Kael'dra breathed, in a terrifying, doctrine-shattering way. Admiral Zoranix's voice crackled over the facility's general announcement system. All personnel, be advised, the wooden training implement from Initial Contact Exercise 7 has been designated Historical Artifact status. It will be displayed in the Academy Museum with full honors. Emma nearly choked on her sandwich. They're giving a stick full honors? The weapon that changed galactic warfare, Zyl'ax said, unable to keep the amusement from his voice. It's a stick. I can make another one from any tree on Earth. Hell, from half the plants in this facility's botanical garden. Nevertheless, Zyl'ax pulled up a holographic image on his own datapad, the museum's proposed display. The stick, mounted in a stasis field with a plaque reading, the instrument through which humanity demonstrated that advancement is not synonymous with effectiveness, wielded by Cadet Olivia Smith in the paradigm shift of modern combat theory. Emma stared at it, then burst out laughing. Oh, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. 10,000 years of weapons development, and we're memorializing a stick. It represents more than wood, Kael'dra said seriously. It represents the idea that we've been wrong about fundamental principles of combat, that sometimes the answer isn't more power, it's better technique. Sure, Emma waved her sandwich, very philosophical, very deep, still a stick. But she was smiling, and Zyl'ax realized that was the final lesson in all of this. Humans could revolutionize warfare, shatter paradigms, force entire civilizations to rethink millennia of doctrine, and then joke about it over lunch. So, Emma said, finishing her meal, anyone know if the cafeteria serves dessert? Because defeating plasma weapons works up an appetite, and apparently I'm stuck here doing paperwork for the foreseeable future. Might as well enjoy the perks. Across the galaxy, new training protocols were being implemented, weapons were being redesigned, combat theory was being rewritten from the ground up, and in a small cafeteria at the Galactic Military Academy, a human instructor asked for directions to the dessert bar while alien military experts contemplated the philosophical implications of stick fighting. Somehow, Zyl'ax thought, that was the most human thing of all.